So it is a transportation and logistics business. So we dispatch actually for owner operators who own and operate their own trucks over the road. It was funny because I have a cousin that's a truck driver, and he said, well, what are you going to do after you teach? Because I know how you are. You're going to kill it, and then you're going to get bored and you're going to want to do something else. So I
You
said,
do have a track record.
right. I said, well, I don't want to drive a truck. What do I look like? I hate driving a car. And he said, no, you don't have to drive. There's other things you can do. But he could never elaborate on other things that I could do in the business. So I kind of left it alone. And then one day on Instagram, I had got a recommended page. So I'm like, oh, the trucking guru. I'm like, oh, what is this? So I went ahead and started following her. It was a female, it was African American. She lives in Texas. And so I started following her page. And I loved what she had to say. She's so raw and uncut. This lady is a felon. She's a high school dropout. Her and her ex-husband, they were in the dope game. I mean, this is just raw who she is. And I love her story. Now she's a 100+ millionaire in the trucking business. She's been doing it 15 years. She worked for a company at first, and then she branched off and started doing her own. She made mistakes and she fell, but she kept getting up and she kept doing it. And now she has a successful business, trucking business. She owns like a fleet of 48 trucks. That she runs out of Texas. She runs oil and gas, and she didn't really want to teach. It was just something that came to her. She's a very spiritual person. And she said, I want to help people that look like me. I want to help people of color be able to get into this industry because it's a lot of money to be made. And when I'm in meetings, I'm usually the only Black person. So all people that, the generational wealth, they've been in trucking, for, 5-6 generations deep. And she's like, I want to have that for people of color. We need to do it too. So after following her for a few months, me and my children decided to take the class, and we took it in June of last year. And we did really well over the summer because I was home and I was able to help facilitate. But then when I started back to work, business fell off a little bit. So now that summer is going to be coming up again, I'm going to start because honestly, I think I'm going to transition out of teaching. I think it's time because I think what COVID has done is pulled the veil over a lot of things. I think it's pulled the veil over America as a whole. I think that now that we know that this country's been ran on chicken wire and bubblegum, we know that now.
Yeah. For sure.
We are the biggest fraud known to man. And with that subset, I think education is another layer of that fraud. And what I see is that the education system is and that's what I always tell my coworkers, because I come from the business background and I have a business management degree. So my coworkers, all they've done is teach, and they're like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this and they don't care about the kids. I'm like, they never really have. This is a business. Education is a business. And that's what they're concerned about. And so they'll work teachers to death and have them come in and do all this work, but they really don't care about the teachers. So I say that to say that the transportation business for us is recession proof because every single thing you own is moved by a truck in this 100%. Country.
Yep.
So whether it comes in on a boat, where if it's coming from China, got to get a truck to go out to the port to pull it and move it somewhere. So that is I'm kind of a slow roll into it. I'm not going hardcore like I normally do and jump because I'm thinking, God, like I will be entrepreneur working for myself, no medical. So, but I'm kind of getting that itch. And I think that with COVID, that's kind of pushed me, is going to propel me to just jump. So this possibly could be my last year. I do private tutor as well as teach. And so that for me will be still my fulfillment and still my connection with kids because I can tutor. But I think at the end of the school year, that might be the transition that I need to keep going.
Well, by your track record, it seems like when you got your eyes set on something, you're going to follow through. So I wish you the best of luck with that. Where did you come up with the name?
Actually, my 19-year-old daughter came up with the name. She's a huge Black Panther fan,
Okay.
obviously, and we want to be that solution to a owner operator, to someone who is also a business owner, but they have to figure out where their routes are and be safe on the road. We want to take some of that off their plate, and we want to be able to book the routes for them on their behalf.
Awesome. That's great too. And that story of that lady is all too familiar. So many people,
Mm-hmm.
because of the way the system is set up, have fallen into that exact same situation. And it's so hard. So for her to set something up like that and for you guys to actually take that and make it your own is
Mm-hmm.
hats off to you.
Yes, thank you.
So we're coming up towards the end of the podcast. I just got a couple more
Mm-hmm.
questions for you.
Yes.
Um, how would you say what makes your job hard as far as just overall all the hats you wear? How what makes your job difficult to do, and how has that affected your life in the sense of the path that you're going on now?
For me, I'm such a empath. I care about others and how they feel and what's going on, and I'm the person, are you okay, what's going on? But I never take the time to check on Lori and ask her if she's okay. I just keep going, going, going. And what happens when you have people that go, 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 and they tend to crash and burn? That's what happened to me when I was at News 3 and CW, and I talked about how I took off pretty much almost a year until I figured out what I wanted to do, was which was to teach. But during that time, it was so much self discovery that I had about myself, and I knew that I was a go getter, and I knew, people saw that in me, and I saw it in myself. But sometimes self doubt kicks in, so that's why I took that year off to really focus on my wealth. I mean, not my wealth. I'm sorry, my health instead of the wealth, because I always been chasing the wealth,
Yeah.
and that came to me.
Well, health
But
is
my
wealth,
health,
so
yeah, but so I was unbalanced, if that
right.
makes sense. So when I took that time off to really focus on the health, I think that's what really propelled me when I jumped into teaching. So it's funny because now I'm back into the gym. So this is day 3. I've been going to the gym every morning at 5, like going crazy.
Nice.
And people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to the gym." I'm like, you know what? When you commit to something that's focused on you, that's when things start to shift. And so, as I alluded to earlier, I'm in preparation for that shift,
I
for that
love that.
next gift that God is getting ready to bless me with,
I love that. I love that.
with our business, with Panther Solutions. So that's where I'm at now.
That's great. I started this thing called 75 Hard,
Oh
and
yes, yes.
you've heard of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on day 6 now. But
Oh,
that
good.
that statement you just said, I'm gonna take that quote. When you focus on yourself, that's when things really start to shift, and
Mm-hmm.
that's that's some advice a lot of people can really take to the bank.
Yes, and that's good. Good for you for doing that 75 hard. I looked at it.
It's
I
it's
I
it's been
think I
rough.
think yeah, I think when I see that, I think I'm the type of person I have to implement, because if I write it down, then I get overwhelmed. So I'm just like, so I'm making it a lifestyle. Like, I'm going back and I'm just back at it. So I think maybe March, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could start the 75 hard challenge. No, I think I'm going to push it till maybe March.
Yeah, it's definitely rough, and for me, it was just something I had to do for myself. After getting out of the military, it's really to lose that self discipline, and
Mm-hmm.
also akin to that when you focus on yourself and you get something done, you feel better about it and you become more successful. So for me, it's just a challenge for myself of accountability that I need to push myself and get this done so I can do that. So
Yes, 100%. And it always is so funny. My health journey, which was amazing. Now, I never was encouraged to play sports as a kid. I really didn't play sports. I wasn't physically active. I never was encouraged to do that. And I also, I've always been the fluffy kid. So I never was that skinny girl. So when I actually sat down and really, got laser focused on the health aspect of me, it was incredible. Now, I will tell you, I started running at 41 years old. Never ran a day in my life. You know why? Because I was so stressed out in my job. And I was like, I don't want to turn to food or alcohol. I'm going to get out here and run. Now, I don't have any business running. My tennis shoes were fashion statements, never put to the road.
Yeah.
I ran 3 miles, almost died. I was like, oh my gosh. But the feeling I got from it was incredible. And
Got
so
that.
I just cold started running for a year. No training, no formal training. I didn't look up anything. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, you should join this run group that I'm in, to teach you like technique and that kind of, so you don't injure yourself. I'm like, well, I probably should. I mean, I'm too old to be out here running and something happens. So
Yeah.
I took the class. I ran my first 5K.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And it was awesome. And so fast forward to now, 10 years later, I've ran multiple like I can run a 5K now. I can just go out and bust it. But I ran a half marathon in 2015. And when I tell you, it was the most rewarding, and you know what's crazy? I trained, I worked really hard, I had dropped the weight, everything. I was top 20 for my age group. I came in
That's
for the
huge.
race.
That's huge.
And here's the thing, I wasn't shooting for anything. I just wanted to get out there to prove to me that I could do it. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So I always tell people you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it and if you really want to do it. So when people tell me, "Oh no, I can't do it," like my students, no, yeah, you can, yeah, you can, yeah, you can. I always tell them. So I hope that I leave them with that, and it's impressionable to them that they know that you literally can do anything that you want to do if you put your mind to it.
100%. We need more people like you to encourage people instead of downplaying them and telling them, "Oh, I'd second guess that." No, just
Just
that's
do it.
yeah, that's good. Just like Nike.
Just yep.
um, this is a kind of a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
What is your best tip for making the world a better place? And as I said before, podcast about positivity, but we can't downplay the negative. So,
Right.
what is a problem that you see also, and no matter how big or small, and what is your solution to help said problem?
Let's see, a problem in the world. I think that people are self-centered. We don't have enough people that focus on other people. We do have some caring people out there, don't get me wrong, but I think that it's shifted. It's not like it used to be. Like when I think about when my grandparents were alive and how they were so nurturing and the neighbors were nurturing and everybody, it was community. And we were missing that. And I was hoping that COVID would kind of strike that back up because everybody was at home. In some cases, I did see a shift, and that was really great to see. But in some cases, people have snapped out, and it's scary. But we just need to get back to what is important to us as a person and make sure that we emit that light into the world and always stay positive because we need more positivity in the world and we need more people to be open. What I do notice in my own children is that they're so diverse in their dealings with people, from having friends that are gay or transgender or bisexual or whatever it is. And I always tell my kids, I don't care what people do in the bedroom. It's not my business. Who cares? As long as you're a good person and you're going to do what's right, that always be on the side of right. That's what's important to me. I think we just need to focus more on that instead of looking for a come up or trying to get over on people because it never ends up good. You always get busted. So why do you do it?
No, it doesn't feel good.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So I definitely agree. But two things I do tell my students, though, life lessons. I always tell them early on time is late. Doesn't matter if you're in school, if you're at home, if you're on the job, you set the precedent. And when you show up early, people respect that. And if people don't respect your time, leave. That's what I do. A lot of times, if I have business meetings and people don't show up on time, I give them 15 minutes grace and then I'm out because you
Yep,
don't respect my time. So
absolutely.